My fiancé proposed to my sister. Everyone expected me to cause a huge scene. Even my parents urged me to be understanding and give way to my sister. But to their surprise, I calmly offered my blessings, and then announced my own engagement to Sam, a wealthy and powerful heir. Sorry, folks. That tragic drama ends here. I'm switching to the main character script now. Chapter 1. Today was supposed to be my engagement party with Eric, but Eric never showed up. His phone was off, and even his parents couldn't find him. As murmurs filled the venue, I took the mic from a server, casually raised the wine glass in front of me, and said, "Apologies, everyone. I believe my fiancé must have run into something urgent." Before I could finish, Eric appeared at the door, fingers tightly interlaced with my biological sister Celine's, interrupting me loudly. "Indeed, we apologize." He let go of her hand and gently pulled her into his arms with reverence. Then, step by step, he approached me and held out his hand. "Sorry for the trouble." I set down my glass, handed him the microphone, and stepped back without a word. Eric nodded at me, swept his eyes across the guests, and said with fake remorse, "To everyone here, and to Helen, I sincerely apologize. The engagement between Helen and me is hereby cancelled. But today, in front of all of you, I want to make something clear. From beginning to end, the only woman I truly wanted to marry is her." He turned to Celine and dropped to one knee. Full of sincerity, "Miss Celine, will you marry me?" Celine didn't answer. She glanced at me, then stared down at Eric as tears streamed down her face. Clearly tormented. After all, she was stealing her own sister's engagement party. Eric noticed her hesitation and gently took her hand to give her strength. The guests who had started to leave all turned back to watch the drama unfold. Low murmurs spread like wildfire. Weren't their families publicly engaged for years? And now a last-minute swap. Celine rarely shows up at public events. Who knew she'd make such an entrance? I heard Eric was once head over heels for Helen. Isn't this just Celine stealing her sister's fiancé? Helen's not gonna lose it. Is she? Come on. They weren't married yet. What's the big deal? No matter the setting. Gossip is a universal human talent. I smiled slightly and, with sincere encouragement, urged her, "Sis, what are you waiting for? Say yes already." To my surprise, Celine's tears flowed even harder. She lowered her head and shook it, lips tightly shut. Still kneeling, Eric finally snapped. He turned to me and growled, "Helen, stop torturing Celine. If you've got a problem, take it out on me. She's innocent." Me? Excuse me? What does this have to do with me? I held it in, but I couldn't help blurting out a comment. "Are you out of your mind?" Chapter 2. The atmosphere in the ballroom froze for a beat. My friends hurried over, afraid I would explode, trying to escort me out. "Helen, don't be upset, we'll talk it over later." "Helen, are you all right? Come downstairs and rest." Even my parents, Pablo and Monica, shuffled in and patted my shoulder, urging, "Your sister has always given in to you. She only wants one Eric. Be sensible just this once and let her have him." Me? So I don't even get a line? You've said it all for me. I brushed their hands away and sighed. Okay. You've talked more than enough. My turn. I asked a waiter for another mic and slipped past the busybodies. Not far away, Celine was crouched in Eric's arms, sobbing, under countless doubtful eyes. I took 2 steps forward. The speakers around the hall carried my words loud and clear. "I offer my sincere blessing that my sister and Eric may truly become a happy couple." Celine lifted her tear-stained face. Helen, not in the mood to hear her performance. I cleared my throat and went on. "At the same time, I would also like to invite everyone." The ballroom doors swung open. Someone strolled in. Gasps rippled through the crowd. "Isn't that Sam? What's he doing here?" "Whoa, the golden boy came to watch the show?" I walked over, slipped my arm through his, and smiled. "To our engagement party on the 21st of next month at HS Garden." Chapter 3. Silence fell. Unlike families like mine or Eric's, living off old money, Sam's clan has served in government for generations and holds real power. Yet Sam quit politics at 20, dove into business, and in just 5 years locked down over half of Creek City's economy. A genuine rising tycoon, the kind no one here dares offend. No one except my ever self-sacrificing sister, Celine, propped up by Eric, stared in disbelief. Helen. Stop joking, Sam isn't someone we can tease. I tilted my head. Joking? About what? Eric shielded her. Helen. I was wrong today. Name any compensation. But don't provoke the Sams. My father Pablo elbowed in. Anxious. Helen. Don't be foolish. Do you know who that man is? Before I could answer, Sam eased me 2 steps back. Pablo followed, apologizing while still trying to tug at me. Sir, my younger daughter meant no offense, she. You seem to misunderstand something, Sam said, brow creasing. I held the mic to him. He inclined his head, voice steady. Since Helen has invited you all, I warmly welcome your presence. Next month, the 21st. HS Garden, our engagement party. He paused, took the mic, and added, and I also wish Celine and Eric all the happiness in the world. He let the mic fall, bang. The sound, paired with his words, hit every heart like a gavel. A beat of dead quiet, then uproar. Young heirs and heiresses whispered nonstop. Thought Helen was pathetic. But, something's off. Looks like Eric's bride swap was last minute. But Helen was ready. Wait, HS Garden, their initials? Dude, we're just extras in their game. H first. S after, he's totally in love. Sam soaked in the chatter, throwing the gossipers an appreciative nod. I followed his gaze. Their excitement spiked. Me? Why do you all look like shippers who just found a new OTP? Aren't you supposed to be high society? I sighed, patted Sam's flamboyant peacock shoulder. Dial it back, will you? Chapter 4. The next day, Creek City's headlines exploded. With Sam's permission, the news of our engagement went public. Everyone knew. Since yesterday afternoon, my dad Pablo had been blowing up my phone, asking how I got involved with Sam, whether I was trying to ruin the family, and if I had any idea who I was messing with. Then this morning, after seeing the headlines, his tone shifted sharply. Helen, you must behave well and keep Sam happy. Our family's future now depends entirely on you. Depends on me now. Huh? I tapped my finger on that last message, amused. Pablo never had the skills to manage the company. We'd been leeching off Eric's family for years. So for over 2 decades, the future of the family was placed squarely on Eric's shoulders, which is exactly why, the moment they saw Eric and Celine getting close, they dumped me without hesitation. My dear parents always favored my frail, delicate sister. They couldn't wait to hand her a good marriage. Back then, the only reason they didn't force a switch was because Eric insisted on chasing me. Now that he's willingly run off with my sister, well, wish granted. Just as I was thinking this, Sam sat beside me with a tray of water. What are you thinking about? I picked up a green grape, sighing dramatically. Biased parents, a crazy sister, a backstabbing fiancé, and poor, innocent me. Before I could eat it, Sam brought my hand to his mouth and took the grape, mimicking my tone. He sighed. Sigh, my fiancé almost got bullied. Tragic. Oh, right. This fruit thief knew way too much about my past. No use playing the victim here. My dad wants me to suck up to you. I muttered. I picked another grape and offered it to him. Here, let me try. Sam took it without shame and replied lazily. Think I'm worth waiting a few days for? Since we were getting engaged, it was only natural our parents would meet. My dad finally had a shot at clinging to Sam's powerful family. No doubt he'd want to milk it for all it's worth. Question was, how long could they hold back before pouncing on this golden goose? I kept feeding Sam grapes and guessed. A week? Sam turned his head slightly and replied with certainty. One day. Chapter 5. The next day. At my family's house. Sam was stuck in the living room making small talk with my parents. Meanwhile, I headed upstairs to pack. I'd be moving in with him. The door creaked open. Celine stepped in with a cup of coffee. All warm smiles. Helen, I made this myself. Thought you might want to try it. I glanced at the cluster of fresh hickeys on her collarbone. Guess she wasn't even pretending anymore. I really admire you, sis. Celine froze in the doorway, then smiled anyway. What's that supposed to mean? I put down the clothes in my hands. picked up my phone, and shut it off right in front of her, then tossed it onto the bed. Your turn. Hand over your phone. Celine hesitated. What are you? I blinked innocently. Turn it off. Or turn around and get out. A moment later, she pulled a phone out of her bag. It had been recording. She turned it off and shut the door. Her smile vanished. Her tone turned cold. I've been wondering since yesterday, how the hell did you land, Sam? Turns out you've got some tricks after all. I spread my hands. Nothing compared to you. Growing up, our parents treated Celine, born premature, as fragile. No running, no jumping, no leaving the house. Like she was a porcelain doll. And yet, this doll grew up with a pitch-black heart. After age 5, she started targeting me. She wanted what she believed was rightfully hers. Parental favoritism, teachers' praise, friends' affection, and my fiancé, Eric. Her tactics? Playing sick, playing victim, smearing my name. She got what she wanted, and even if I never cared that much, she always acted like she'd won some grand war. Maybe she really thought she was brilliant. Thinking about it, I smiled. Celine didn't reply. She sipped the coffee she'd brought. Looking smug. Took me over 10 minutes to make this. Shame if you don't try it. I nodded. Yeah, what a waste. The room went quiet for a few seconds. She finally set the cup down and said, You can't marry Sam. Why not? You're not good enough for him. I nodded and shot back. Oh, and you are? Celine's eyes flashed with panic at the hit. Still, she tried to play it righteously. Sam's background is way out of your league. I'm saying this for your own good. Wow. The classic I'm doing this for you. I sat on the edge of the bed, pretending to think seriously. So is it that I'm not worthy, or that you want him for yourself? I already gave you Eric. Isn't that enough? Celine answered instinctively. Eric and I truly love each other. Then paused, realizing what she just said. Her eyes widened. You said, gave him to me? Oh, my silly sister. I smiled, raised a finger, and started counting. Didn't you say your love was real? Let me guess, when did it start? Was it the engagement party the other day? Or the countless secret meetups over the years? Or maybe, the night after the college entrance exams? Chapter 6. Thud. Crash. A heavy object hit the floor. A ceramic cup shattered. Downstairs. The three in the living room jumped at the sound. They rushed upstairs. Celine was collapsed on the floor of my room, clutching her stomach and gasping in pain. Her white loungewear was stained with spilled coffee. The shattered cup lay beside her. I sat right in front of her, calmly watching. The scene stabbed at our mother's heart. She rushed to Celine in panic. What happened? Celine, are you okay? Celine weakly opened her eyes, tears flowing. It hurts. Mom, don't blame Helen. I just slipped. She didn't push me. Monica, always partial to her firstborn, was already livid. The always poised lady didn't care her manicured hands were soaked with coffee. She pointed straight at me. Helen! She's your sister, and she's carrying your nephew. How dare you push her? She got more hysterical with each word. She even tried to slap me, but her knee buckled, and she dropped right onto Celine. Celine's sobbing paused awkwardly. I pressed my lips together, holding back a laugh. People always get very busy when they're embarrassed. Monica scrambled to get up, crying now, clinging to Celine. She yelled at my father. Pablo, what are you standing there for? Call the doctor. This is a disaster. Total disaster. Pablo snapped back to reality and ran toward the stairs, only to be stopped by Sam at the door. His tone was calm, too calm. No need to rush. Pablo froze. Sam? What do you mean by this? Sam didn't answer. He just jerked his chin in my direction. Everyone turned to look at me. I slowly stood up and clapped. You know what? My sister, this is the best performance of her life. Too bad tonight, it's the final act. Monica didn't understand what I meant. She was all about Celine, snapping at me with a cracked voice. What nonsense are you spouting? Why won't you let your father call a doctor? Do you want your sister and that unborn child dead? I frowned, covered my ears, and looked toward Sam for help. He raised a hand and knocked his knuckles against the door frame. Ma'am, if anyone's most concerned about Celine's well-being in this room, it's not you. What? Sam fell silent. I took over. If something happens to Celine in my room, I'd be paying for it with my life. I'm not that self-sacrificing. Monica looked down at Celine, then back at me, confused. What are you trying to do? I picked up 2 phones from the bed, walked to the bookshelf, and pulled out another, Sam's phone. Then I turned the screen toward them. It was still recording. Celine's crying stopped instantly. I saw it in her eyes, panic, fear, unraveling. My parents stopped breathing for a second. They sensed it. Something was off. The room had never been this quiet. No need for suspense. I turned on the projector, connected Sam's phone, and hit play on the saved recording. Chapter 7. The first few minutes of the video showed only me folding clothes in the room. Then, Celine entered with a cup of coffee. A few minutes later, my voice asked, "Let me guess, when did you and Eric fall truly in love? The engagement party? The countless secret meetups over the years? Or the night after college entrance exams?" Celine's face turned ghost white. She stepped toward me, teeth clenched. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Then the video clearly captured my response. Room 107, 10th floor of Jean Bin Hotel. That hallway footage of you two practically tearing each other apart. I was the one who deleted it for you. Celine's face froze. Then she suddenly lifted the coffee and poured it all over herself, her voice icy and laced with resentment. "So what? You owe me this." Then, without blinking, she smashed the cup to the floor, neatly avoided the shards, and collapsed, clutching her stomach, screaming in pain. The noise drew everyone upstairs, just as shown in the video. The last few seconds of the video were me walking up to the camera. End of playback. The room fell into dead silence. Monica's face, previously full of worry and pity, froze in disbelief. "Celine. You? Why would you?" Pablo's face flushed red. The man who prided himself on being a gentleman, who never raised his voice, snapped. "What the hell were you thinking?" Celine was still crying, grabbing Monica's hand so tightly her knuckles turned white. "I didn't mean to, I was just..." Enough. I clapped, cutting through their drama. "I'm not here for explanations. Just wanted to present the truth. Sam and I have other matters, so we'll be leaving now." As if my words jolted her awake, Celine sprang to her feet, ignoring the broken glass as she tried to grab me. "Helen, you did this on purpose. You want to ruin me. Take everything from me. You be *tch. You." But someone was faster than her. Monica stood and yanked her back. Slap. Celine froze, her wide eyes filled with disbelief. Monica withdrew her hand, gazing at the red mark blooming on Celine's cheek, voice low and dazed. How could you become like this? She's your sister." Celine was stunned. She slowly lifted a hand to her face, tears streaming down as she stared at Monica. Then, by reflex, she played her old tricks. "You hit me, for her? Mom, have you forgotten how much I've tolerated her all these years? I gave her everything. All I wanted was Eric. What did I do wrong?" Monica paused, her grip on Celine's hand trembling. "I just saw you earlier, Anne." Celine flung her hand away and laughed coldly. "Saw me? I was just protecting my love in my own way. And you, Mom? Are you really going to take Helen's side without question?" Monica shook her head, trying to say something. I couldn't help but cut in. All right. Everything my sister says is always right. But I have just one question." Everyone turned to me. I looked straight at Celine. "That was your first time getting slapped, right? How does it feel?" Her pale face turned a visible shade of green, the red handprint burning brightly across her cheek. It was quite a sight. I laughed. "No comment? Fine. Show's over. We're leaving. Everything left to resolve. That's their problem now. I'd had more than enough." Chapter 8. Celine was ordered back to her room by Pablo. He and Monica, faces stiff with embarrassment, walked Sam and me to the door. Just before we got in the car, Monica held onto the car door and tugged my sleeve. Helen. I didn't reply. Sam narrowed his eyes, pulled me into the car in one motion, then leaned halfway across my lap and said sincerely, "Ma'am, if Celine ever wants to break into acting, feel free to reach out." He paused and added, slowly and deliberately, "She's clearly gifted." Monica froze, her hand hanging midair before she clenched it tightly. She said nothing. I looked up briefly, then turned away and gave her a small wave with my head bowed. "We're off, Mom." It was like that one word Mom pacified her a little. She forced out a shaky smile and waved back. "Okay." The car door closed, the window sealed off the grief in her eyes. Finally, I let out a breath. An epiphany that comes too late is still too late. Celine had been pulling stunts like this her whole life. No matter how sneaky a child is, no one hides everything perfectly forever. But when parents' hearts are biased from the start, their eyes and ears only see and hear what they want to believe. That's why, over and over, they dismissed my concerns, insisting on protecting the so-called fragile victim Celine. Good thing, it's all in the past now. And good thing, I stopped caring a long time ago. Chapter 9. Back at Sam's place, I just wanted to catch up on some sleep. Last night had been a bit chaotic. Pablo couldn't even wait a full day. Once he confirmed Sam and I were truly getting married, he immediately called, begging us to come for lunch the next day. He said it was just a meal, but everyone knew he had his own agenda, not in the mood for whatever family bonding trap that was. I dragged Sam over early, hoping we could dodge the lunch table altogether. Thankfully, Celine came through for me, put on enough of a scene to get us out early. Now the spring sun was perfect, ideal for napping. Just as I flopped onto the bed, someone wouldn't stop hovering. "Sleepy?" I mumbled into the blanket, voice muffled, Next thing I knew, the mattress dipped beside me, and Sam pulled me into his arms. I was dragged out of my warm cocoon, and suddenly his flawless face was inches from mine. "You're not planning to back out on that bet, are you?" "The bet?" "Right, the one about how long my parents could stay patient with their shiny new son-in-law. I'd boasted they'd hold out a week. Reality? Not even 24 hours. Thinking about what I'd promised, my ears started to burn. Is this really something we need to discuss in broad daylight? Sam narrowed his eyes, voice dangerously lazy. "You're not backing out, right?" "Of course not." The last word got swallowed, as Sam pressed a kiss to my lips, hand cradling the back of my neck. I'd never been able to resist his kisses. By the time he let go, I was breathless, eyes damp from sheer lack of oxygen. "I'm tired, seriously." Sam leaned in again, brushing my lower lip. "I'll nap with you." Still catching my breath, I shoved him weakly. "Stay on your side." He let the momentum carry him down beside me, sighing contentedly. "Rest up. You'll want to be well rested for the next show." Chapter 10. 3 days later, Eric announced he and Celine would be hosting a second engagement party. He even had the nerve to send an invitation right into Sam's hands. Sam slapped it into my palm, raising an eyebrow with a grin. "Come on, let's go enjoy the show." So this was the show he meant. I smiled, taking the invite. "Can't wait." "Sounds delightful." The Maybach pulled up outside the banquet hall. Sam stepped out first, rounded the car, and opened the door for me. I reached out and took his arm, walking beside him. This time, the venue was grander, the setup more extravagant, and they'd even invited a bunch of media outlets. I glanced around and muttered, "Aw, true love. This is way fancier than the one I had." Sam looked around the hall too, the corner of his lips curling up. "This? You call this effort?" I chuckled and appeased him. "Meh, SOSO. The room was packed. Heirs from elite families, sharply dressed CEOs, celebrities and influencers dressed to impress. But most of them weren't the kind you could invite with just the names Eric and my family. That raised a question. Had something happened recently that I didn't know about? Fortunately, the answer revealed itself soon enough. Since Sam and I entered, we'd been attracting a lot of attention. Not far off, someone was already swirling their wine and gearing up to approach Sam. I tapped Sam's arm. "Looks like this whole party is riding on your name." Sam had wealth, looks, and pedigree. He was the infamous Prince of Creek City, a clean record, zero scandals, and never a fan of public events. Now, out of nowhere, a fiancé had appeared. Everyone was curious, and once they found out it was me, Pablo's daughter, and that Celine, the bride-to-be, was my only sister, well, of course people expected me to show up. Some of them were even betting I'd bring Sam along. This might be their rare chance to get close to him. From the crowd, Eric emerged with a wine glass, grinning ear to ear as he raised it toward us. Helen, Sam, a server brought us 2 drinks. I picked one up and, for the sake of courtesy, lifted it in response. Congratulations. On what? Exactly. I didn't say. Eric didn't seem to mind Sam ignoring him. He nodded, took a sip, and turned back into the crowd. I set my glass down on a table, and when I turned, Sam was already surrounded by several familiar-looking CEOs. Can't leave him alone for a second. I slipped into a quiet corner, doing my best to ignore a pair of eyes that had been staring at me the whole time. Sipping wine, nibbling pastries, pretending I didn't notice. Once the crowd was nearly all here, I let go of my glass and slumped onto the table, feigning sleep. Sure enough, the one who'd been watching finally made a move. Someone gently held my shoulders. Miss? Are you all right? Let me help you upstairs to rest. With my eyes shut, I smirked in silence. Now then, the real show was about to begin. Chapter 11. The female attendant guided me to a room, gently undressed me, tucked a blanket over me, and quietly closed the door. Once everything settled, I sat up, feeling around for my clothes in the dark and slipping them back on. The room was dim and quiet. My phone had been taken away earlier. I let my eyes adjust and explored the room. It was spotless, no wardrobe, nowhere to hide. Even the front door looked like it wouldn't budge. Giving up on hiding, I sat on the sofa by the window, rubbing my sore shoulder. From the left earring came a tiny electronic buzz. Then Sam's cold voice echoed in my ear. Get ready. She won't go easy on you. I sighed, wrapped myself tighter in the blanket. How heartbreaking. Sam scoffed. Yeah, so heartbreaking it's almost funny. I smiled faintly, but didn't respond. Truth be told, I was really looking forward to it. What surprise would Celine pull today? Suddenly, I heard footsteps at the door. I instinctively tightened the blanket around me. The door creaked open. Light from the hallway spilled in, so bright I had to squint. 2 figures slipped inside. There was rustling. Someone was undressing. A hoarse male voice whispered, "Move fast. Just film it and go." Another voice, lower and nervous. I know. They didn't turn on the lights. From the shadows, I could see them groping their way toward the bed. I stayed curled up on the sofa, counting silently in my head. 5, 4, 3. They fumbled around the bed, clearly confused. Wait, where is she? No one's here. She's supposed to be on the bed, right? Turn on the light. I counted down the last seconds. 2, 1. Click. The light came on. I yanked the blanket over my head just in case I saw something traumatizing. Then came Sam's voice, sharp as a blade. Well, look who's shooting a spicy little nude art film in here. Chapter 12. The 2 men in the room were dragged out to the door by Sam's people. Sam peeled me out of the blanket and carried me out of the room in his arms. The 2 men, now dressed in waiter uniforms, knelt at the doorway. One of them had a small camera still hanging around his neck. I looked away and told Sam to put me down. Who sent you? They exchanged a glance, then answered without hesitation. It was Celine. She told us to film indecent photos of you, said your full face had to be visible. Helen, we were just doing a job. Could you and Mr. Sam maybe? I gave them a polite smile, then turned around and said, Sam, call the police. Celine had spent the past 20 years used to being above me. That day I came home and flipped her entire world upside down. She even moved out that night. There was no way she would let that slide. Predictably, she went all out. Zero hesitation. Downstairs, the engagement banquet was in full swing. At the end of the runway, a massive screen played a slideshow of Eric and Celine's childhood memories. Funny thing, I was present in many of those scenes. Some photos were even taken during the time Eric was chasing me. God knows what excuse Celine used to shoot those cozy shots with him. Now they were rebranded as their sweet memories. How amusing. To the side of the stage, a pianist played the dreamy wedding melody, wrapping the hall in what looked like heartfelt blessings. Sam walked behind me and wrapped an arm around my waist. She's going to love your little gift in return. I looked down at the smiling Celine on screen and sighed. I hadn't planned to send it. Really. But my sister, so naive. She charged blindly down a one-way road, never thinking to leave herself a way out. Maybe all these years of me tolerating her just made her that stupid. Chapter 13. The screen moved on to shots of their engagement outfits. The host gestured for Celine and Eric to take the stage. They walked up arm in arm, smiled at each other, and turned to the guests, ready to speak. Then, from the speakers flanking the big screen, our voices played. The same conversation Sam and I had before. The screen was dark, but the audio was crystal clear. My voice whispered into the mic hidden in my earring. What do you think? What kind of surprise will she give me? Then came the waiter's voice. Celine told us to film you and another man in bed. She said your whole face had to be visible. Helen, we were just paid to do a job. Please. You and Sam. On stage, Celine's face turned ashen. She grabbed Eric's hand and shouted, "Who's in charge of the screen? Shut it off! What is this? Turn it off, now." But it was too late. Sam's people had already taken control of the equipment room. No one could stop it. The screen continued. New footage played. My room. Me. Folding clothes. Then Celine walked in with a cup of coffee. The coffee cup shattered again, this time, in front of the entire crowd. And just like before, the video ended on a close-up of me walking to the camera. The room erupted. Celine collapsed to the floor, sobbing. Eric knelt beside her, holding her, completely stunned. I let go of the railing, leaned back into Sam's arms, and smiled lazily. I forgot, what's the next video again? The screen darkened. 3 seconds later, Celine's voice came first. I really like this trophy. Helen. The image appeared. A much younger Celine, holding a crystal trophy, admiring it. Anyone with eyes could see. The name engraved was Helen. It was my award. In the video, I sat on the couch, silent. Celine didn't care. She threw the trophy on the ground and cried out, "I'm sorry. Helen, I didn't mean to. Don't be mad." Then, Pablo and Monica rushed in to shield her. Celine, ever the actress, gently defended me. "Don't blame Helen. It was my fault for touching the trophy. She didn't mean to hit me with it. Please don't be mad at her." That defense lit their fire. Monica pointed at me, furious. "How could I have a daughter like you? That's your sister." The video kept rolling. Meanwhile, reporters had started live streaming. Cameras flashed nonstop. Guests who had once surrounded the happy couple now backed far away. My God, are they really sisters? Are those really her parents? You think Eric didn't know? Half her bed's been shared with him. How could he not know? Wasn't Eric engaged to Helen first, then suddenly switched to Celine? Could it be? Celine was jealous of her sister and even stole her fiancé? Creepy. When you think about it. Chapter 14. The murmurs gradually drowned out one of the main characters of the video. What was meant to be a joyful engagement banquet had turned into Celine's public execution. Celine sat frozen, desperately clutching Eric's arm, trying to get him to take her away. But Eric seemed too stunned to move. She ended up shoving him aside, knocking him to the floor. Pablo and Monica were surrounded, unable to help. Celine swayed, rolled her eyes dramatically, and fainted on the spot. Guests stepped back again, afraid she'd try to fake a fall on them. Chaos returned. Sam gestured for a microphone. His long fingers tapped it twice. Boom, boom. His deep, calm voice echoed from every speaker. Ladies and gentlemen. Everyone paused, looking around, then upward, until their eyes locked on Sam and me on the second-floor balcony. He handed me the mic. I looked toward the big screen and spoke calmly. I hope tonight's show didn't disappoint. I paused, then looked down at Celine, her makeup now smudged beyond saving. still pretending to be unconscious. I just wonder, did my sister enjoy her gift? Celine, the self-absorbed, spoiled older sister who'd always thought she was special, finally snapped out of her daze. Shaken by Eric's reaction, with her mask shattered, she glared at me and screamed, "Helen, it was you? Are you insane? Are you trying to push me to?" I finished her sentence for her. To die? She froze. What? I smiled, sincerely, truly amused. Isn't that what you've been telling me for the last 20 years? Countless times after I won awards. She would pull me aside, hold my hand so sweetly, and say, "I'm so jealous of you, Helen. You're healthy, full of life. You have such beautiful memories. You work hard and get recognized. I'm happy for you, really. But Helen, we're both daughters of the same parents. Why do you get to be happy, to have everything, while I'm locked at home, not allowed to do this or that? It's not fair. I'm so miserable." Then she'd smash my trophies, rip up my awards, and collapse in the middle of the mess. "You're so perfect. You've taken everything from me. You make it look like I was born as a mistake. You're always pushing me to die, Helen." But she never meant it. She didn't want to die. She wanted me to, or better yet, she wished I had never been born. I let out a soft sigh. "Oh, Celine, with your attitude, what made you think I'd still be a good little sister to you?" Truth be told, there were moments I'd imagined how satisfying it would be if a sharp piece of glass could glide across her throat. Silently, at the edges of the hall, the live stream was still going. I swallowed the rest of my inappropriate thoughts and said, "After all, this is still my sister's engagement banquet." At that moment, Sam's secretary approached Pablo and Monica, holding a box. I softened my voice. "I actually did prepare a different kind of gift." The box opened. Inside was a deed to a luxury villa and a signed transfer contract. Some sharp-eyed guests gasped, "Is that from Yunjin Tian-K?" "No way, Yunjin Tian-K? That's the kind of place money can't buy. Even the powerful have to wait years." Wow, Helen really went all out. Just as Pablo's eyes lit up and his hand reached for the deed, the box snapped shut. I smiled politely, with a trace of regret. It was meant to be a gift. But now, it's compensation. It belongs to you now. The box was handed to Pablo's assistant. Monica was crying silently, tears streaming down her face. She choked out, "Helen." I ignored the pain in her eyes and looked back at Celine, her face a mess, her expression completely broken, just like when we were little. After one of her manipulative stunts, I bowed my head and apologized sincerely. "Sister, I'm sorry, but this kind of moment will never happen again." Back then, I apologized because I was young, because I cared about our sisterhood, and was willing to give up my honors for her fragile ego. Now, I apologize because I had just completely shattered her so-called lifelong happiness. This story between her and me is over. Chapter 15. The engagement banquet ended in a mess. Sam and I were once again trending on every headline. Even the drama that had been buried during the last engagement was dug up, though the tone of coverage was oddly chaotic. Helen caught reading from a drama script. Zero proof. When she said, "What kind of good little sister would I be?" my emotional blockages cleared. Solid evidence. One blow. Instant justice. Peak revenge arc. Bunny gone feral story? Nah. Everyone's toxic here. Am I the only one seeing Sam's indulgent smile? She's going off. He's loving it. Right? I thought I was the only one. My dad called me a dozen times. I ignored every one of them. But when the police came to investigate the attempted blackmail photo incident, I had no choice but to face someone I loathed. Eric looked like a wreck. After the banquet, my family's company took a nosedive. And his wasn't spared either, which made sense. He never was capable or hardworking to begin with. Celine's in the hospital. I raised my hand to stop him and started closing the door. "Save it. Please leave." He blocked the door. "Helen, I didn't mean for things to go like this." That night after the college entrance exam, I was going to confess to you. I was drunk. I didn't know why it ended up being Celine. I stayed behind the door, refusing to look at him. So, That's what's been eating you up. I sneered. Enough. Eric. Forget how many times you two accidentally hooked up these past years. I dragged out my words, then delivered the blow. Did it never occur to you to wonder why Celine met up with you that night? Eric's eyes widened. He shoved the door open, stunned. What do you mean? I took 2 steps back, arms crossed, tone icy. The drug in your drink? I arranged that. The text you sent to me? I made sure Celine saw it. The hotel room you ended up in with her? I booked it. Why? We were engaged. We were supposed to be. I raised my hand again and waved it, thoroughly annoyed. God, do you not understand human speech? I've wondered since we were kids. Why do you always cling to me? He froze again, flashes of my teenage years. Avoiding him, rejecting him, despising him, played through my mind. He looked like his whole world was collapsing. I loved you, and what's that got to do with me? I let out a cold snort. You still don't get it, huh? I've hated you, always. I never liked you, not even for a second. Back then, just the thought of marrying you gave me insomnia. Being tied to you, labeled as your fiancé, trapped in your shadow, was the worst time of my life. All I did was give you back to Celine. Like I told you before, I hope you two miserable souls live happily ever after. Chapter 16. After the banquet, my family and Eric's officially severed ties. The engagement was dead, to avoid being dragged down. Eric's company publicly distanced itself. They pulled out just in time. Minimal damage. But Pablo's company? Already riddled with rot, collapsed overnight. Pablo and Monica vanished from the public eye. Celine was diagnosed with mild delusional disorder and severe depression. She was admitted to a rehab facility on the outskirts of Xiqing. The 2 gifts Sam gave at the banquet? He took both back, intact. My family's assets were frozen. The company got absorbed by Sam's, facing sky-high compensation demands. They had no way out. In the end, they were forced to mortgage the villa I once gifted them. The debt of birth can never truly be repaid. The bond of sisterhood? Even harder to sever. That villa was the only thing I ever gave them, and the only exit I left behind. Chapter 17. With the past finally settled, I finally had some peace. What I didn't expect, though, was a sudden wave of invitations from all the powerful families. Banquets, getaways, luncheons. But let's be honest, they weren't really interested in me. They were all after the man standing behind me. Thankfully, Sam rejected every invitation on my behalf, then whisked me off to his family's estate for some quiet, in the cozy, richly toned living room of the Sam household. His silver-haired grandmother glared at me with mock anger. Well, who is this young lady? I don't seem to recognize her. She banged her teacup lightly on the table and turned her head away dramatically. I rushed over and clung to her arm. Grandma, it's me, Helen. Look closely. I don't believe for a second that you'd forget these eyes. Never heard of her. Don't know her. She let out a cold humph. Still refusing to look at me, I scooted over to her other side and wrapped her in a hug, continuing to pout playfully. You can't pretend not to know me. You always said I was your favorite. I haven't been around these past few days because I had to take care of some annoying pests. Now that I'm finally free, I'll be spending more time with you. She listened, her hand wrapping around mine affectionately. Then she turned her glare to Sam. And where were you when Helen had trouble? Didn't even bother to help her? Sam shrugged and sank into a single sofa. Wouldn't dare steal her spotlight. Just then, Sam's father came down the stairs, even in casual home clothes. He exuded the dignified calm of a sheathed blade, though his presence was commanding. His voice held a teasing warmth. Helen's making waves lately. That punk probably couldn't help, even if he wanted to. I looked up with a shy smile. Uncle, I didn't know you were here too. Your aunt insisted we come the moment she heard you'd be visiting. Sam's mother descended in a simple, elegant dress, her tone gentle. It's me. I thought it'd be nice for the family to have dinner together. And Helen, you can come with me to look at engagement dresses afterward. Sam's grandmother, now all smiles, patted my head gently. In the blink of an eye, our little girl's all grown up. I leaned into her hand and nodded with emotion. Yeah, it's been 10 years since I met Sam, back when I was 15, compared to my gloomy childhood home. This place, Sam's home, has always felt more like my real family. Chapter 18. On the day of our engagement party. We stood atop the rooftop of HS Garden. Sam had secretly planned everything, and now, he revealed it all to me. I lifted my gown and stepped through the door. There were no crowds. No flashing media cameras. No endless stream of socialites. Only white roses, shipped from all corners of the world, covered the entire space like snow. At the end of a red carpet stood a stage, where only our family waited. Sam's parents were holding a small gift box. Sam's grandmother stood with a mic, her voice gentle and kind, floating with the breeze. Helen, welcome home. Sam led me forward. Together, we opened the box handed to us by his mother. Inside, a jade bracelet, smooth and glowing green, was slid onto my wrist. Helen, welcome home. Tears fell from my eyes. I couldn't find the words. What a rare blessing, to have known Sam since youth. To walk through 10 long years together. And finally, peace and belonging.